Time Homebuyers Podcast, where we don't sugarcoat the real estate game. We help you move smarter, faster, and build your future. One smart move at a time, right? Yes, sir. So today, we just going to have real talk. We just going to have real conversation. No guest today. It's just me. On this Saturday morning, we'll get back to the guests next week. But I've been having a real busy week, having a lot of good conversations. With some good people, some potential clients, some financial people, a little bit of everything, man. But there's a story. There's some stuff that's just not being told. It's just not being talked about as far as being a first-time home buyer, especially here in Connecticut. So I'm going to nerd out on you today a little bit. I'm going to nerd out on you, and we're going to really get down to the nitty-gritty. We're going to talk about why Connecticut's market is the way it is. We're going to talk about some spots that may be able to get you in the game at a lower price without the bidding wars, without all of the craziness that's going on, right? We're also going to talk about house hacking. What is it? Why should you house hack? And how it can benefit you and how to do it. We're going to go over that as well. And one of the biggest things we're going to talk about is waiting. Yes, the market is crazy. The market's crazy right now. And, not trying to scare you, just trying to educate you. I don't think I've seen it this bad in my 10 years of being out here. And bad meaning the demand, right? The low inventory and the high demand. Bidding wars are still around, still crazy. Shout out to, all of the buyers, whether you're working with me or not, whether you're working with the Gibson team or, you got your own agent. Shout out to everybody out there that's putting in the work that's trying to get into something. It's not easy, but nothing that is worth it is ever easy, right? You got to stay the course, and you got to see this thing through. But we're gonna get into that real quick. This is gonna be your real estate playbook for 2025 and beyond. If you've been paying attention to the podcast, I've basically introduced you to my team. Minus a few people, yet, still more to come. But I think in the first couple of episodes, we spoke to Lauren Scott and the attorney. We spoke to Lloyd Brownfield, the lender. We spoke to last week. We did Ryan Wheaton with Cornerstone Home Inspections, right? So I've curated a team, right? And not only that, I purposely gave you those angles so that you can see, how this thing looks on that side. Who do you need to talk to? Everybody on your team has their own lane, right? But it all comes together for this sweet science of purchasing real estate. So let's get into it. Before we dive in, if you're serious about purchasing your first home and you don't know where to start, let's say you have the minimum requirements, you got, good job history, 2 years on your job. The minimum credit score is 620 to get in. A lot of lenders can do it with 500, but I like 620. 620s are smoother transactions. 500s, you need more of a down payment. It's a lot of overlays. It could get crazy. If you're in a pinch and you got to do it, then okay, cool. But 620, 640, 650. Obviously, the higher the credit score, um, the more options will be available for you. There's a lot of grants going around. There's, a lot of assistance programs, but you got to qualify for those programs. So if you're serious and you're really thinking about making this move, which you should be, um, you can book a 30-minute consultation with me. It's for free. It's free. It's a free 30-minute consultation. We could do it via Zoom, telephone, or you can come to the office during my office hours. My office hours are 9 to 12, but and then after the office, I leave and go do my showings for the day. But um, we can do it however you want. The link is in the comments below. If you're watching on Facebook, it should be in the comments. We're streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Um, Book that 30-minute consultation and let's help you come up with a game plan to get you where you need to be in 2025. All right. Um, let's dive into this. I'm gonna stop saying just work with me, people. All right. So let's talk Connecticut right now. There are 1.5 million residential homes in Connecticut in total. Out of those 1.5 million, there's like 10% of those are vacant. So 1.5 million homes, 10% is about 100,000, a little over 100,000 homes that are vacant right now. The population here is 3.6 million. Now, that 3.6 million, not everybody could be at, of working age yet. It could be, some families mixed in there, the kids or whatever, right? 3.6 million people, 1.5 million houses. 3.6 million people, 1.5 million houses, right? And to take it a step further, listen, and if you're from Connecticut and you hear a lot of the horror stories, taxes going up and we don't have no money and where's the money going? That's kind of the same I want to say across the board just about. But we have one of the strongest job markets in the country. Per our population, right? We only have like a 3% unemployment rate, which means for the most part, everybody's making money, right? The overall scope is we have 3.6 million people, everybody's making money. Everybody wants a piece of the pie, the American dream. Own a home, raise your family, right? The white picket fence, stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, recessed lights. Everybody wants the same thing, right? So that is what's creating demand, along with the fact that there's low supply, low inventory. So let's talk about that. Why is there low inventory? Well, for a number of reasons. First of all, I don't care if the market was booming. Not everybody is going to sell their house every day, right? I mean, you know what I mean? Like we'll get into it. We'll get into it. But anyways, there's low inventory right now. All right. Want to pull up my numbers, but last time I checked, it was less than like 2 months supply. So there's low inventory, high demand, which is keeping the prices up. And not only is it keeping the prices up, but it's making the process kind of annoying, for buyers. And believe it or not, it's kind of annoying for sellers too. But we need it. Like when I say we need it, you know, shelter. We have to have shelter. We got to have somewhere to live, right? But the fact that we have more people than there are available homes is what's keeping the prices up. So We have sellers that, let's say, purchased their home in the last 7 years. A lot of these, I don't want to say sellers, we'll call them homeowners. These homeowners purchase a home in the last 7 years. These homeowners are sitting on 3% interest rates, right? 4% interest rates. Right now, the current rate is somewhere in low sixes, I believe. Um, so it's hard for a seller to just be comfortable with selling because they got to ask themselves the same question: where am I going to go? So you take a seller and you're going to put them into this crazy buyer pool in order to sell, right? So people are less or more reluctant to just sell for certain reasons. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm just tired of this house, so I'm just gonna sell. No, that's not what's gonna happen, right? But the people that are selling for specific reasons. And they understand that, okay, it's gonna be different for me on the other side. And I'm capable of handling the higher prices, the higher interest rates. Um, and there's a need to sell. So there are certain people that have a need to sell, which is why we see the inventory that we do have, right? So there's barely enough housing for the people that are already here, but we also have people that are coming in from different parts of the country. Believe it or not, we got New Yorkers. It's cheaper for them, for people in New York to come here and pay our taxes and everything else than to have to deal with the taxes and the things they have to deal with in New York. So our 3.6 million is growing every day. Not only, you got people coming into town and in Boston as well, Massachusetts as well. Colleges, we got Yale. A lot of people are coming here from school, and there's actually college students that are buying as well, or even if not, they're getting into the rental game at least, at the very least. So the population is going to keep growing. We do not build fast enough to compensate for that here in Connecticut. We've ran out of space per se, right? The state's not that big in square miles, right? By itself, we're one of the smaller states, and we don't have enough space to expand, right? Or do we? Or do we? Or do we? Right? I get clients all the time that send me the Instagram videos of these houses going up in Texas, right? You can basically get what we consider a mansion, 3,000 square feet, 3-4 car garage, brand new build, with all of the fixings in Texas for 200,000, for literally for 200,000. There's so outside of the cities, outside of Houston, outside of Austin, there's these spaces in Texas where demand is not that high because there's not a lot of infrastructure. You're it's cool because in certain parts of the country, an hour drive to get to something is the norm, right? So, Charlotte, our people in the South, Charlotte, South Carolina, and in the South, like we have streets, they have highways, like, like, you know what I mean? So, it's okay. They're okay with traveling a little while to get to where they need to be. So the same thing in Texas. You got this big state with all of this land, and it's easy. Land is cheap because there's so much of it, supply and demand. And these big building companies have systemized building new construction, and they're able to do it at a lower cost. But like our state is the size of one of those cities out there. So imagine, all right, so we're in between New York, we're in between Boston, right? So that in itself just creates demand to be here. Just that in itself. So, but why can't we build at that scale? Because simply, we have the space is the question. Here's what I was thinking about, and or what I was researching a little bit. Our major cities, New Haven, Hartford, Bridgeport, down in Fairfield, Norwalk, Greenwich, New London, uh, who else? Norwich. Our big cities. It's always expensive to live in the city. Everybody wants to live in the city for the most part, right? Why? Because of the infrastructure, because of jobs, because of schools, because of shopping, hospitals. Everybody wants to live in the city, right? So the next play is, okay, well, if I can't afford to live in the city, like New Yorkers, if I can't afford to live in the city, I'm gonna live in the outskirts. The Hamdens, West Havens, East Haven, Meriden, Waterbury. I'm gonna move to the outskirts of the cities and I'm just gonna commute. It's cheaper out there because the demand is not as high, or is it? You know what I mean? So what's making our outskirt towns in demand is because people are saying, I don't want to live in the city. I'd rather live in the outskirts. So they move to the outskirts. So now you're creating demand in the outskirts. Listen, if you haven't been following, you should be following the I'm calling it the tax debacle in Hamden. Hamden has, as of right now, actually the last 4 or 5 years, Hamden has the highest mill rate in the state, and I think we're top 4 in the country on mill rate, which is what they use to calculate taxes. Right? Taxes are crazy. My my taxes are $8,000 on my little house. $8,000 on my little house in Hamden. It's crazy, right? But if anybody could find me a vacant house in Hamden, send it to me. DM it to me, please. There ain't a vacant house out here. So we will complain. We will complain. We will try to figure this thing out. But if it becomes unbearable to you in Hamden and you got to sell, you ain't gonna have a problem selling. You are not gonna have a problem selling, and I think they know that. And I think if the taxes go up to 10,000, there's still gonna be people knocking at the door. Why? Because we have everything. We have everything. We're right outside the city. We got shopping. We got schools. We got water, sewer, electricity. Like seriously, we you got everything, right? And again, I could walk, I could hop on the bus, I could catch an Uber, I got access to everything I need in the surrounding city. So it still makes it a hotspot. It still makes it a place where everybody wants to be. It still creates demand, right? I was just kidding about the $10,000 part. Don't raise my taxes to $10,000. I'm out of here for sure. But you got everything you need. So let's look at this on a bigger scope. Connecticut has a lot of rural areas that are underdeveloped. We talk about affordability. We talk about, you know, the high demand, the bidding wars, and getting in the game. But there are markets, there are areas in Connecticut that are untouched, and it's not completely your fault. I'm not saying you should just go, but I think it's something you should look into. But I think the state or the powers that be should look into these undeveloped areas to create more housing. Now, unlike Texas, right? Texas got a lot of flat land and a lot of deserts. We do have a lot of mountains, you know what I mean, and things like that. But we have a lot of wooded areas that are not mountains, that are still considered rural areas, right? If you can add roads, if you can add water, sewer, electricity, those things. You really only need electricity. You could get by with you could get by with septic, you could get by with propane, or oil, right? Simple electricity and roads in rural areas and certain areas could help turn this thing around. Now there are some rural areas where there's already electricity. Honestly, Guilford is considered a rural area, right? Anywhere, if you look at the map, there's a map. Let me see if I can pull this up. There's a map where you can, it shows you all of the rural areas, right? And until I pull this up, I can give you a basic description of that. The rural areas in Connecticut are the areas away from the major highways, right? We have two major highways. We have 95 that goes across the bottom, north to south, but it looks like it's east to west. I mean, west to east, rather, whatever, east to west, right? And then you got 91 going north to south. Those are the major highways. And then you got 84, of course, going across as well. So there's pockets in the state away from those highways. In the northeast corner, the northwest corner, and then the southeast away from 90, going up from 95 over to 91. And this it's another little pocket, uh like between like Greenwich and Danbury. Like it's these pockets of areas that they consider rural areas, which means they're underdeveloped, they're underpopulated, right? And part of that is because, well, nobody really wants to be there. You know what I mean? Like is the best way for me to say it. Like nobody really wants to be there. Nobody's really not thinking about those places because of where they're located, as opposed to our our better cities, our bigger cities, right? So as we talk about affordability, as we talk about affordability, or should I say, what's more important to you though? Like these are questions I'm asking myself. Like these are questions you probably should ask yourself. If I could find a house that has everything I want, but it just might not be where I want it, would I consider getting in the game? Y'all keep sending me them Texas Instagrams like, yo, I'm ready to go to Texas. So that tells me that you got that 2,000 square foot home in Texas for 300,000. You ready to make that move, right? So here's another. There's no jobs where that thing is. You probably maybe you got a work from home job and that might work for you, right? Um, the schools may be smaller in those areas. The classroom size may be smaller in those areas. My boy Amir says, "Great content, brother." Shout out to you, Amir. Thanks for watching, man. Yeah, but I think this is something that needs to be talked about. That ain't nobody talking about. Like, what if we had to commute a little while? What if the state even said, "Hey, listen, I know things are expensive in these cities, but we'll give you an incentive to relocate to some of these rural areas. And not only will we give you an incentive, but we would even make it okay for you to go to school in the areas, for your kids to go to school in the areas they need to go to, or for the sake of affordability, or for the sake of if something doesn't happen, there's going to be a lot of people priced out the market. I think the market will still continue to move. I think there's still going to be, a lot of transactions, you know what I mean? But there's is going to take a lot of people out the game, which is what has happened since the pandemic. You know, when I started 10 years ago, I when I started 10 years ago, all the houses I was selling was for 180,000. 2 years on your same rules apply. 2 years on the job. We was doing it with 580 credit scores then. 580 credit score, you get down payment assistance. I had clients walking away from the closing table with their deposit checks. It was wild, but I don't think I didn't. I sure didn't. I was gonna say I don't think any of us saw this thing getting to where it is. Now everybody knows that real estate always appreciates, right? It's usually an appreciating asset. Um, Something crazy has got to happen, or you simply have to neglect your property in order for it to depreciate. From what I've seen since I've been in the business, right? Um, People thought that the pandemic was going to go back to, get us back to. Listen, I got seasoned investors. I got millionaire investors that are telling me they're just going to wait for the market to calm down. Seasoned. Like these dudes, they do this. Like, 180 units. Like these guys are investors. Yeah, yeah, the market's too crazy. I'm gonna wait for it to calm down. And then they call me once a month, like, hey, you got something? Not for $20,000, my man. Not for 60,000. And look, I'm guilty as charged too. I just had this conversation with somebody else. The last house I flipped, I got it for a crazy price. And after it was done, after we done moved on, I'm out here looking for other deals like that. Bro, you're not finding that again. You're not finding that again. So I literally had to have a conversation with myself to say, yo, that's not happening again. We're not going back there. There's no way. Just the simple philosophy, the simple business, uh, or simple rule of business, supply and demand. We're not going back there. So we got to start thinking of alternatives, right? So I can't find the map I wanted to pull up. I can't find the map I wanted to pull up. I'm gonna look for it later, and if I find it, I'll post it. But what if we developed in some of these rural areas? And all right, so now your next question is how? Even this is gonna blow your mind. Even as a first time home buyer, you can do a new construction with a FHA loan. FHA loan is 3.5% down. The reason why it's not big around here is because of we still have an issue with costs. We still have an issue with uh the land cost. Number one, the land cost is expensive, and especially if you're looking in in our closer to our major cities. In the rural areas, the land could be a little cheaper right now. Right now. But as soon as the word get out of this podcast, as soon as the word get out of this podcast, the price is gonna go up. But like right now, you might be able to get some land for cheap in a rural area. But now we got the construction costs, right? You know, if the town or the state or nobody puts, a water line or a sewer line, or the water companies or the sewer companies, I don't know who's in charge of that, but if if nobody runs water lines, then okay, you're gonna have to put a well system in. That could be pricey right there. You're gonna have to put a septic system in. That could be pricey right there. Here's another thing. There was an article I read not too long ago about some of these towns uh loosening their restrictions on building code. You know what I mean? A lot of the building code restrictions. So right now, a lot of our restrictions are crazy. Everything's got to be done to the T. There was a building company that's like, we spend they spend the extra 20% or something like that on their new constructions because they have to, pay extra stuff to abide by the building codes, right? So from what I read in that article, some towns are starting to loosen, some of their building code restrictions to help with affordability. So I think that's a step in the right direction. And then there's another thing we're gonna talk about too before this is over with. But um, those are the major hurdles. I want to say the supply is a lot better in the rural areas. And like I said, and it don't even have to be that far. Like Guilford is a rural area. I think I said that. North Branford is like a rural area. It's like in between 91 and 95, that area over there. But then it kind of spreads out as you go further out, north in the state, right? So, is it worth it for me to commute? Is it? Yeah, and the tariffs are going to hit the building supplies. Yes, yes, ma'am, Carol. For sure. Carol said the tariffs are going to hit the building supplies as well, and yes, they are. But so what I teach my clients is you got to know your numbers, right? So again, following up to this point in my podcast, we are episode 5. I don't put you on with the lender. I don't put you on with the attorney. I don't put you on with the home inspector, right? So part of building your team is you're gonna have to get a contractor. You might have to get a contractor on your team. Um, One of my guys asked me yesterday, how do I, these houses are flying off the market. How do I calculate repair costs? You got to get your contractor to go with you. Got to get your contractor to go with you. If your contractor don't want to go with you to look at I'm scheduling an appointment with my agent to go see this house. Mr. Contractor, can you be there at 12 o'clock with us? If your contractor don't want to go, hit me up. I got a contractor. He go to all of mine. But it's even to the point where now I know he taught me how to calculate his numbers to an extent. So I got a good idea on what it is if he can't make it, right? But the average real estate agent don't know how to calculate repair costs. You know what I mean? Or don't, and I just flipped a house or two. So I kind of got a good idea of, what it cost me, right? So you got to know the numbers is the point. You got to know the numbers is the point. So if the tariffs are raising uh supply costs, you got to factor that in your numbers. But and I'm saying this, but say I still don't think that even with tariffs, the houses that we have in Fairfield, Fairfield, and not even Fairfield, let's say Bridgeport. or West Haven, 1,500 square feet going for 400,000. So can I build in a rural area, not too far from the city, maybe 30-minute, 45-minute drive tops? Can I find a space that's 45 minutes away where I could build the same 1,500 square foot home or better, 3 bedrooms or better for under 400,000? Is that possible? If that is not possible, then we in for an even crazier ride. Because the only way we could create affordability is to build more housing. There a couple years ago, especially after the pandemic, there was a lot of warehouses. There's a lot of vacant. Well, there's still a lot of vacant warehouses, but I'm starting to see a lot of them turn around. People are starting to get creative with some of this commercial space. Um, even after the pandemic, a lot of people started opening up their own businesses as well. People get into the bag, so a lot of people are starting to purchase, some of these commercial properties, for business use or whatever. But there's still a lot of commercial properties that could be converted into residential, whether it be condos or apartments or something like that. But then the problem is the market value. The market value of apartments is out of this world, and nobody's going to lower their apartment costs. I mean, the cost of these rentals or whatever, right? If a developer comes in and builds some apartments, oh yeah, you could bet they're going to be, you know, $3,000 a month for a 2 bedroom, right? That's what we've been seeing. That's what we've been seeing around the New Haven area. We get excited. Oh, there's new apartments going up and da 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 da, and then the it's really not helping the affordability, and that's because like you need mass change right now. It can't just be one up here and one up there. A house here, a house there, and a complex here, a complex there. The only way this is going to change, like, it's got to be something massive happening in order to change. So, apartments, Carol says, apartments are nuts. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So, I'm not saying any of this to scare you. I'm saying this to educate you, right? And I'm saying let's think outside of the box as far as moving into rural areas. So here's another play. I'm gonna move on from my rural area speech. I think you guys got it. All right, let's pivot to this. There's a trend called house hacking, and for the last 8 years, we kind of been programmed to buy the multifamily first. And this is another reason why demand is so crazy because of house hacking, right? We're turning first time home buyers into investors every day. The first time home buyer is not just buying one house anymore. So those 3.6 million people are getting multiple of the 1.5 million homes. We're not just buying one no more, right? So we were taught, we're programmed that, oh, get the multifamily first. Get right. First time home buyers can qualify up to a 4 family house with the first time home buyer loan. So let me get as many units as I possibly can for the least amount of money down as I can, and live in one unit and rent the other units out and build generational wealth. That's the play. That was the play. It kind of still is the play. But again, we facing an issue here. I don't know if you look, but the multifamily market is bananas. The multifamily market is bananas right now because everybody is looking for that Shane play. And then on top of that, it ain't just the first time home buyers. You got the investors, you got the seasoned investors, you got the larger investment companies. They are fighting over these multifamily houses. So it's harder for the average guy, the average buyer, to to get in that game right now. It's harder for the average buyer to get in that game because of affordability and the competition of the demand. So my question is, why does it have to be a multifamily? Why does it have to be a multifamily? I literally lost a real good client. I literally lost a real good client. And I ain't gonna hold you. It's my boy too. He's my boy, man. I lost him because he really wanted a three family. But in my professional opinion, it just wasn't lining up with with the circumstances and the market. Like it just didn't fit. And I kind of pushed him, not pushed him, but like, bro, you should really think about going another route. You should really think about going another route. And I feel him. He wanted what he wanted, and you know, he went a different direction. Look, I'm human, right? I'm human, right? But on the flip side, I got dudes that's killing it right now off of single families. Or for single families. So with single family house hacking, you're getting in for even lower entry costs, right? Because a single family you could get, even in the big cities, you could get for 200,000 plus or minus, a little bit under, a little bit over, right? Oh my God, I'm giving you $1 million worth of game right now. I shouldn't even be talking about this on a live stream. You could get a single family for around 200,000. You're not getting a multifamily for around 200,000. And even if you did get a multifamily for around 200,000, it's going to cost you almost double the amount of money per se to renovate it to where you need it to be, because you got two units, you got two of everything, you got two furnaces, you got two kitchens, you got two bathrooms, you got two of everything, right? So it's going to cost you a little bit more money. But when we talk about affordability, why not just go after the single family? House hacking is still to play, but I think there's a pivot on how it's done, right? There's a house in Hamden on Warner Street that just sold uh a year ago. Um it was a regular, so over in this area, this particular part of Hamden, they have like the house styles are like they call bungalows. So it's like a ranch. It's like when a ranch meets a cape. Like it's all one floor, but it still has like the slanted roof, and in certain areas, and it's just like a straight house. And you walk in the front door, and everything just goes straight back. Um, this particular house had a two-car garage. This particular bungalow had a two-car garage, and it had a basement. In Connecticut, we have basements. Um, they dug down the side of the house, added a stairway with a door. They dug down the side of the house on the other side, made bigger windows, put a wheel well, and was able to take this single family house and turn it into a two-family house. And the house, if you're familiar with Warner Street and Hamden, which is like right on the Hamden New Haven line, sold for over $400,000. A regular bungalow is going to cost you, all right, well, now in today's market, it might cost you 300,000. But a two family in Hamden is going to cost you, 450 to 500 right now. Maybe four, maybe 4 to 450 or something like that. But the point is there's ways to take a single family and create more housing off of that single family. In order to create an in-law apartment, a ADU, you go to the town, you submit your plans. Your plans don't have to be, drawn up by an architect. You and your contractor could sit down, measure the space out, draw a little box on a piece of paper. This is where the kitchen's gonna go. This is where the bathroom's gonna go. We're gonna run the plumbing from here. You submit those plans to the zoning department. They approve you, send you over to the building department. You pull the permits. The building inspector makes sure that it's done up to whatever their code is in that town. And you just turned a single family into a multifamily. You just created more living, more housing in this market. And you just potentially made yourself money on equity. And you just created another stream of rental income off of a single family house. That's just one way. That's just one way. When in terms of investing, you got to know your exit strategy. There's a lot of different exit strategies. There's a lot of different ways to go. You got to know your exit strategy, right? Understand the different exit strategies so you can figure out which exit strategy I'm going to use for this particular investment. There's a lot of guys that are locked into, I keep saying guys, but there's a lot of people that are locked into a specific exit strategy. Some people just want to do buy and holds, rental properties. Some people just want to do fix and flips. I was a fix and flip guy for a long time. I think I'm slowly getting sucked into the buy and hold side. But understanding your exit strategies and uh making your moves towards that. But the point is you get, house hacking is still relevant, but we got to pivot. We got to pivot. First time home buyers should still buy, but because of affordability, we might have to pivot a little bit. We might have to start thinking outside the box. We might have to start moving to different places for affordability. Listen, if you got the money and you cool with uh, you know, living in these high demand areas, then fine. But for those that are, affordability is a thing, you should consider checking out some of these different locations that that the state has to offer. All right. This is dope. This is therapeutic for me. This is stuff that's been going through my mind all week, and I'm glad I was able to get it. Glad I was able to get it out. But before we get out of here, let's talk about some of these. Let's talk about some of the headlines, some of the mistruths, some of the things that are being talked about right now in the market, and why I don't think you can afford to wait. The market is going to crash is the big one. I'm waiting for the market to crash. Last year in April, the interest rates went up to 8%, and I freaked out. I was nervous. Interest rates went up to 8%. It was still bidding wars. It was still high demand. The supply went even lower because, again, the sellers, once they sell, they have to go into the buyer pool as well. So the inventory was even lower, but the demand was still there. So if 8% rates don't crash the market, if a pandemic doesn't crash the market, the foreclosures, everybody is waiting for those those foreclosures from those forbearances that a lot of people took out during the pandemic, waiting for those foreclosures to come around. They're coming around. They're here actually, but the demand is still too high. You'd have to take again. We need mass change. Like something has to happen in the masses in order for this thing to really affect what we got going on here. So the banks can't just dump all of the foreclosures. It's a process. So they're dumping them as fast as they can, one or two houses at a time, three houses at a time. I had a client the other day call me and was like, "You got a list of foreclosures?" Yeah, there goes two of them. Like in the area you're looking for. Um, you can still find some deals in foreclosures, but what I found is a lot of people that are looking for foreclosures don't really want to deal with the work that's involved. What actually comes with the foreclosure, right? A lot of people get nervous about that, but we'll talk about that on another episode. But the market's going to crash. The inventory is low and the demand is steady. So the prices are going to stay stable. All right. Now's not a good time to buy. Such and such told me now's not a good time to buy. Here's what's funny. Here's what's funny about that statement. The person that told you that now is not a good time to buy already owns a home. The person that told you that you should wait or is already comfortable. Listen, everybody' path is different. You can ask 100 people how much they paid for their house. Everybody paid a different amount. Like, you get what I'm saying? Everybody's credit score is different. Everybody's bank account is different. Everybody's path through this thing is going to be different, but we all got the same common goal. But it's going to be different. You can't go off of listen, it's going to cost you to wait. It's going to cost you to wait. So 3 years ago, somebody said, now's not a good time to buy. Since then, your landlord's been going up on your rent every year. The property values continue to go up, which means you missed out on equity. Your landlord is 3 years closer to his retirement plan. Your landlord is 3 years closer to his retirement plan, thanks to you. Big shout out to you, Mr. Renter, right? Meanwhile, you could have been building all of that yourself, for yourself. I notice, listen, and I get it too, because I get it because these numbers are unprecedented. Like we've never seen them before, right? And everybody always talks about prepare for the worst. What if I can't? What if I can't? Well, what if you can? Nobody ever talks about the fact that I work hard and I'm proud. I'm gonna get a raise in a year. I'm gonna be making more money in a year. I'm gonna finish school, and with this degree, I'm gonna go get a better job. Nobody accounts for that. But everybody else does. The people, around you, meaning your landlord's banking on that because he knows that's what's gonna happen. Statistically, it's just fact. It's just a part of this whole thing. That's why the inflation. We talk about inflation. Prices are going up. Prices are going up because people are paying more. People spending money out here like they've never spent money before. We have 3%. What is it? 3% unemployment rate in Connecticut. So mostly everybody's working right now, right? So and be proactive. Bet on yourself. Bet on yourself and control your destiny. You can do that for real, for real. Now's not a good time to sell. Now's a great time to sell. So and here's what's contradictory about this whole thing, and I'm gonna admit it. Even if I, as a seller, as I'm gonna tell you, now is a good time to sell because it is. The market is hot, demand is high, right? The real reality is nobody can predict the future, and we don't know what's gonna happen 10 years from now. That is contradictory. We really don't know. We don't know what's going to happen, 5 months from now, right? But we plan. You strategize. You plan for the same way. The point I'm trying to make is the same way you plan for the best. I mean, or the same way you plan for the worst, you can plan for the best, right? And so look, even when I take my clients out before we put in an offer, I give them a CMA. I give them a report on what the value of the property is before we even put in an offer, right? And because of my mindset as far as like flipping houses go, or even investing, trying to understand my exit strategies, trying to plan for the what ifs, right? If I buy this house and I lose my job, what can I do? Well, the rental market in this area is booming. You can rent it out. Uh, you in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you're gonna have equity. You can sell, right? Or you could refinance, turn that garage into a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom apartment, and you can rent that out and stay in your house. I got a homegirl just did that. So if what I'm saying is, don't be the negative person and just, oh, I can't, it won't, it's not. All right, well, let's figure out how, right? So now we make sure we buy it right. Let's make sure that we got the equity that we need out the gate, or that we have the upside to predict that equity in the future. And if it doesn't, if this thing crashes, if this thing really comes tumbling down to the ground, am I still straight? How can I still, you know, benefit off of this investment? Ask the questions. We'll come up with the game plan. Listen, don't fall for the noise. Don't wait for someone else to fix it for you. If you want control over your future, you gotta take control over your today. Damn, you could coin that. That was pretty dope. You could coin that. You could coin that. Listen, the truth is, we got the old plans. Remember, anybody watch Beverly Hills Cop 2, when he shows up the Beverly Hills, and the guys was doing construction on the house, and he he goes on the construction site and is like, nah, these are the old plans. You got the old plans. It's not supposed to be no right angles on this house. It's like like we still moving off of the old plans. You got the old plans. You got to get the new plans. There's different ways to be affordable out here. There's deals out here that people are overlooking. Um, just because we're in a bit in multiple offer situations, we're in this stress of high demand and low inventory, you can still prosper off of this market. What you need to do is set up a free 30-minute consultation with me or somebody from my team. Let's strategize and let's show you how we can make that happen for you. All you got to do is tap in. All you got to do is click that button and talk to me. I don't care what your credit score is. I don't care what situation you in. We're going to help you come up with a game plan on how you can benefit in this market, or any market, or any market. Listen, just got word. We got lenders in Florida, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, basically all up the East Coast. I'm working on my Texas connection. I'm gonna try to get y'all the mansions for 200,000, 300,000 out in Texas. So we got people everywhere. So even if you're thinking about relocating, click the link, book the session. Let's talk about it. I'll put you on with my people. I told you I have curated a team. My squad is dope out here. Shout out to everybody out here. Fighting it out. Keep fighting it out. Keep fighting it out. Talk to your agent about your offer strategy. And if you can't get anywhere, or you feel like you're not getting anywhere from your agent, talk to your lender about your offer strategy. About your offer strategy. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Shout out to all of my agents on the Gibson team. I'm blessed that we are all working and we are all uh making it happen in this crazy market. Um Everybody on my team is like writing offers or getting listings. I am it's just I'm blessed. I don't think y'all understand how long I've been trying to put this together and get this thing rolling. And yeah, we still at the beginning phases, but I am blessed to have these agents around me and blessed that they are, performing the way they're performing. Gloria just got uh her first buyer under contract yesterday. Congratulations, Gloria. Um Sharice 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 McNeil Edgehill just got the house in Westville under contract. We got a listing coming from Sharice. Shout out to Sharice. Um my boy Emmanuel Gillard came in the game with a listing, got that thing under contract. Should be closing shortly. Shout out to him. Uh my boy Gerard, the other Gerard, the G. He's the G, I'm the J. My boy out here working. He trapping right now. My boy is writing offers, uh, making it happen, Captain. I'm so proud of him as well. And Chantel just broke a record, closed one of her biggest transactions to date. Um, just closed on that house. Shout out to Shawnee. And shout out to everybody on the Gibson team, man. And we're growing. I got a new agent getting ready to come on. He's gonna kill the game as well. Um, so yeah, listen, click the link in the chat if you in the comments. If you looking to work with an agent to get you where you need to be. I know some people. Listen, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. I got showings. Go check out some open houses today. Tell them I sent you. Just get out there, start getting the vibe. Start pick out what you like. Go check out some open houses. Tell them you're a client of mine. They'll leave you alone. And then just give me a call, shoot me a text, let me know what you saw. All right. I gotta get out of here. I'll holler at y'all next week. I'll probably post early in the week who the guest is gonna be. I got a real good idea. I got two guests in mind that I'm gonna bring back for next week. So stay tuned for that. And you got any questions, let me know. Go find a house. Go find a house today. I'll talk to y'all soon. Later.